commercial for Turning Points USA. That's very weird. I said that. I got roasted online by a lot of white moderates, even white progressives, all
Mm-hmm.
white. I just want
Mm-hmm.
you to be very clear about this. How dare you, civility, please? Come on, now's not the time. And I also said, this is really strange to me that she is now invoking Christian nationalist language and language of violence and retribution and talking about they and them after it was revealed it was one man, Tyler Robinson. So she was
Mm-hmm.
echoing the talking points of Stephen Miller and the right wing that had already blamed the left before there was any evidence. I like to bring receipts, okay? And she was complicit in it. All right. I'm like, this is strange and odd for a grieving widow who just saw her husband's neck get shot 3 days later to be sitting there performing
Yep.
in an infomercial and then rallying up violence against they and them, which is the rest of us. All right. Who subs in to co-host Charlie Kirk's Turning
On the
Point
first
show?
day. The first day.
Can you tell him,
Who does
Danielle?
it? Who does it from his federal office? J.D. Vance, the vice president of the United States, decided that his role, right, is not to be a representative of the country, but instead to be a podcast host and slide right in to Charlie Kirk's seat in order to wash the Trump administration, which had fallen out of grace with the Charlie Kirk audience, because what was Kirk talking about before he was killed? He was
Epstein.
talking about Jeffrey Epstein. He was also talking about Israel and Gaza and this supposed lack of America first that Donald Trump said that he was going to do, but he's giving billions to Israel to produce this genocide. And let's just be clear, these people are wildly anti-Semitic. They have
Yes.
their reasons why they don't want the Trump regime involved with Israel. But these are the two topics that he was talking about before he was killed. Then you have JD Vance come in, host that show, bring in a parade of Trump officials, right, to try and corral this audience back into favor with the Trump administration. And now this.
Also, I didn't catch this because it didn't come out yesterday, because people clipped it up now. It's even creepier. Before, can you go back to the hand through the hair? Because we just
Of
have to,
course.
Before that happened, Erika, as you can see, introduces JD Vance. And this is what she says. There's video of this. I'm going to quote.
Mm-hmm.
No one will ever replace Charlie. But I do see some similarities of my husband in JD, Vice President JD Vance. She said that before introducing him. I'll try to send you. Actually, you know what? While we talk about it, let me send you
Please
the.
try and send it. Okay.
And then also at that turning points, as JD Vance is taking Q&A, his wife comes up. Can you tell him how? Okay, I think we have the clip of how he talks about his wife, Usha Vance.
Wait, which, and okay, because I have several.
There
So
you go.
here,
There you
so
go. This.
so here is a clip. This is JD Vance, who was on a college campus. Also, he's been making the rounds this week for a very interesting rounds that he's been making, and a woman, and I'm assuming South Asian woman,
Yeah.
brilliant. I played this yesterday on the Danielle Moody show. Comes up, asks him pointed questions about immigration, about his wife and her religion. And let me see if I can play.
My wife did not grow up Christian. I think it's fair to say that she grew up in a Hindu family, but not in a particularly religious family in either direction. In fact, when I met my wife, we were both, I would consider myself an agnostic or an atheist, and that's what I think she would have considered herself as well. Everybody has to come to their own arrangement here. The way that we've come to our arrangement is she's my best friend. We talk to each other about this stuff. So we decided to raise our kids Christian. Our two oldest kids who go to school, they go to a Christian school. Our 8-year-old did his first communion about a year ago. That's the way that we have come to our arrangement. But thank you. My 8-year-old was also very proud of his first communion. Thank you, guys. I'll tell him that Ole Miss wishes him the best. But I think everybody has to have this own conversation when you're in a marriage. I mean, it's true for friends of mine who are in Protestant and Catholic marriages, friends of mine who are in, atheist and Christian marriages. You just got to talk to the only advice I can give is you just got to talk to the person that God has put you with, and you've got to make those decisions as a family unit. For us, it works out.
Okay. So here's my thing. For them, it works out, right? And why does it work out? Because JD Vance is a chameleon. JD Vance is somebody who changes with the wind. JD Vance knew that even if he and his wife, who I believe him, didn't have any religious affiliation, she was raised Hindu, but sees herself as agnostic, maybe, right? He's agnostic or atheist at the time, but they decide to raise their children Christian. That is because of political expedience, right? So that he would have a talking point. Am I wrong?
You are way too generous, because he's talked about this in the past and acknowledged her Hindu background and her Hindu Indian family and the fact that they're immigrants and the fact that they speak Telugu. He has totally thrown her under the bus, first and foremost, with that egregious display of familiarity with Erika Kirk. And then secondly, okay, let me put it this way.
Mm-hmm.
Suppose, Danielle, when you were married, you don't have to be married. For anyone who's a long-term relationship, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Someone asks you about your spouse or your partner, and you publicly say, listen, I'm trying to get over that Hindu thing. I hope she converts. We're raising our kids Christian. When I met her, she was agnostic. If just think about the Thanksgiving dinner, and you go to that Hindu, they just say, suppose your wife is, or you just fill in the blank, a religion. How would that go over, especially then when you see these photos? Oh yeah, I
I
want you
mean,
to change your religion. And I'm just happy you're not your religion of your family. And we're raising our kids the opposite religion. And I'm trying to convert you publicly. And I hope you switch.
so I think that I want to play this clip. And this is them initially when he's discussing her faith. She's obviously sitting right there. Let's see if this
Tell me
plays.
about y'all's faith.
Now, I had never been baptized. Even though I was raised Christian, I'd never been baptized. So I was baptized the first time in 2018, I think. It's funny, Usha was not raised Christian, is actually not Christian.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I remember when I started to re-engage with my own faith, Usha was very supportive.
Usha, why were you so supportive?
There are a few different reasons. One is that I did grow up in a religious household. My parents are Hindu, and that was one of the things that made them such good parents, that make them really very good people. And so I think I've seen the power of that in my own life. And I knew that JD was searching for something. This just felt right for him.
How do y'all merge two different faiths while still raising your children?
There are a lot of things that we just agree on, I think, especially when it comes to family life, how to raise our kids. And so I think the answer really is we just talk a lot.
So on one hand, he says that she did not, in the earlier clip, that she did not share. Parents are Hindu, but they weren't really religious, right? That's what he said in the prior clip, the most recent clip from this week. And then in this one, that was when he was campaigning for the vice presidency. She speaks for herself and says, I grew up in a very religious Hindu family, and that's what made my parents good parents. Do we see the discrepancy here? It's just, I mean, look, it's
Usha, you in danger, girl. And
so much danger.
I tweeted that, and then it ended up someone just sent me a message that my tweet and Blue Sky post of her, Erika Kirk, running her hair through JD Vance's fingers and me saying Usha, you in danger, girl, was on the front page of Reddit. I'm like, this, my birthday came early. These are the small things in life. I have no sympathy for Usha Vance. I want to be very clear. Asha Rangappa, she found, you've seen her on CNN. And she found out yesterday on Blue Sky. I'm like, I was only kidding about JD Vance and Erika Kirk. ... And she was like, what? And then I shared the photo. She's like, oh my. And then on her own, Usha was like, I can't help it. I still feel a bit bad for Usha to be humiliated like this on a public stage. And I said, nope, she's complicit, just like Melania Trump. They are
Mm-hmm.
all in. They're partners in the grift. Melania
Mm-hmm.
Trump was a birther. People always said, oh, I feel so bad for Melania. I'm like, not me. She knows what she got into. And not only did she know, she performs her part.
Yep.
She wore that vest, I don't care to you, do you,
Mm-hmm.
when visiting those children who were separated from their parents. And later she goes, I was trolling liberal media. And she was the one who promoted the birther conspiracy before Donald Trump ran for the first time. Usha Vance, she's been complicit. She has been complicit every step of the way. She knows her husband's a grifter. She knows her husband's a chameleon.
Yep.
She knows her husband has changed his name multiple times. She knows her husband has massive mommy and daddy issues. She knows her husband called Trump America's Hitler and hated him, but now wants to become president. And she should know her husband will dump her. Just like he cannot go to the White House with that Indian American Hindu wife. Something's got to give. Either Usher's got to go or he's got to give up his political ambitions. And what do you think JD Vance is going to give up, Danielle?
Not his political ambitions, because he's going full on lie. Once again, this is the right-wing podcast, because evidently that's all he does as vice president of the United States is podcasts, right-wing podcast shows. And he went on there where he once again was talking about the fact that it's okay for people to be racist and not to want to live next to people who don't speak the same language as them. And then he goes on to continue lying about Haitian immigrants eating cats and dogs, which was obviously debunked multiple times over and over and over again during the campaign and after, but he is continued it, right?
Daniel, can I add one thing because it's
Please.
even worse? The Wall Street Journal did a report that Vance and Trump, before they started promoting this lie, were told it was a lie.
Yes.
So that's how they knew it was a lie and they still did it.
And they, of course, right? And so, but because this is gorgeous and I appreciate Waj, this just again, JD Vance is on a tour right now where he is smearing immigrants. He is continuing to spread lies. He has a willingness to throw his own wife under the bus, his own in-laws, his own children under the bus, because that is how greedy he is for power. Right. And he is going to do anything and say anything. And ultimately, this is why initially MAGA does not trust him. But I'm telling you, when he links arms, which he will, with Erika Kirk, all will be forgiven. He will have come home to the truth of whiteness and Christianity and raising a family and blah, 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 blah. And you'll never hear from Usha or his brown children again. But this is who JD Vance's family is and has been for well over a decade. So I just and when they're not religious. Do you see the outfits? Do you see
They're traditional. They're traditional Indian American immigrants who came to this country, like my parents, like Daniel's parents. They speak Telugu, and according to his own wife, grew up a religious Hindus. I see saris, I see dupattas, I see middle-aged dads wearing middle-aged dad clothing. I see nothing but brown people and a chubby speck holding his mixed race, biracial child, and that's JD Vance. They are gonna dump him, folks. Usha, I don't feel bad for you at all.
Nope.
You're an educated woman.
Yep.
You knew what you were getting into. You were complicit every single step of the way. And furthermore, if I may say this, all you Indian Americans that voted for Donald Trump, all you Indian Hindus who had this hate towards Muslims who voted for Donald Trump, all of you Indian Americans who thought you were the model minority and hated the woke. And folks, there is a huge contingency of Indian American voters, not the majority of them, but a lot of them who love Modi, the Hindu fascist prime minister of India, who has his fascist rule in India. They love MAGA. Who's surrounding Donald Trump? People like Kash Patel, who believes he'll get into Valhalla. What did we say? You ain't getting into Valhalla. If there's a Valhalla, Kash Patel, they ain't letting you in. Usha, Vance, Nikki Haley, Vivek
Vivek.
Ramaswamy. Do you see Vivek Ramaswamy getting humiliated by white nationalist kids while he's trying to be their next, what is it? I think he's running for
Governor?
governor. And they're like, you're Hindu. And we're Christian. And he's sitting there like, look at what they make you give. Look at what they make you give. And I'm totally petty because we warned them. But now Hindu Americans and Indian Americans, folks, India is a country of 1.2 billion people. They paid attention to that photo and they saw nothing but disrespect. Danielle.
I just look, and then we'll move on from this. But I look at this as a whole write-up. Who is this? Shimbangi
Shubhangi Sharma. She's
Sharma.
a journalist, Indian journalist.
So, and she writes this. Vance's public remarks cast his wife's faith as a kind of problem to be fixed, a soul yet to be moved. It's the image of a husband proselytizing to the woman who has only ever supported him. She gave up her career for him, trusted him enough to make 3 children with him. This feels like betrayal dressed as piety. The thing with JD Vance is he may have been great so far as a husband, but he feels the pressure now. The closer he gets to the Oval Office, and instead of standing up to it, he's bending. Rather than defending his wife's dignity, he's giving in to the noise, treating his wife's faith like a political liability, all while trying to please the MAGA base that treats it like a revulsive blot. As a husband and a leader, he has a responsibility to do better, but he is recklessly monkey balancing at best, and at worst, joining in on the religious harassment of his own wife. It's a terrible look. It reeks of weak morals and tacit betrayal in love and relationship. And, folks, look, again, I don't feel bad for this woman because you knew who this party was that your husband was going to be campaigning with, running for vice president for. You knew who Peter Thiel was that was filling your family's coffers and using JD Vance as a puppet. We have to understand the role that women play, whether white or Indian American or Black or what have you, in perpetuating white supremacy and patriarchy to their own benefit until the leper eats their face as well. And so I look at these women and I say, she was totally fine. She was totally fine moving and grooving and getting the money and standing there with him. And then now he's looking at her and saying, what have I done? But here's another wife. So enough of Usha. Enough of Usha Vance and JD Vance. But I think it's important, folks, because you watch, continue to follow this story. You want to tell them about Stephen Miller's ghoul of a wife?
So thank God I said no to this panel. I was supposed to be on this panel and I just got busy. And sometimes the universe protects you. You have right in the middle, Stephen Miller's ghoulish wife, who, by the way, is she working with Elon Musk? What's happening? But either way, she's come out into the spotlight and she's thirsty. And she says, I have my show and I'm going to get my media empire. And so she makes her appearance on Piers Morgan. And Cenk Uygur, to her right, calls out her and her husband's, racism and white nationalism. And then the meltdown went viral.
Hold on. So
you better
what
check your
happened in the
citizenship
Holocaust and
application
all
and
the
hope
pogroms
everything was
and
legally
all the
and correct.
pogroms were disgusting.
Just like Ilhan
That
Omar
doesn't
coming
mean that Israel.
You better check your citizenship application and hope everything is in progress, because just like Ilhan Omar, so she's threatening to deport a naturalized citizen because he simply called out her and her husband's track record. And these are the people that we're dealing with. So you're dealing with the Usha, who are complicit. Then you're dealing with Stephen Miller's wife, whose name I'm forgetting. I don't give a shit what her name is. Who melts down just like her husband, right? Her husband. This is why what AOC told them last week, it was brilliant. She called him 4'10". They've been talking about that nonstop on Fox. He goes, he's actually 5'10". He's 5'10". He's
He is
5'10".
not 5'10".
They
He
can't.
is not.
And so then you have these. It's not just the men. That's what's so important. It's the women also, because this infantilizing of the MAGA women, I'm done with it. It started with Melania, and it was always the white liberal media, right? Not
Yep.
us. We're like, oh no, she's a snake. They're complicit, folks, in different variety and degrees, and she is just like her husband, melts down, threatens, starts Karening with Piers Morgan. How dare you, Piers? Look, how dare you? He's attacking me. Anti-Semitism. And they're like, what? And then she threatens to take away his citizenship. Ultimate Karen move.
This is who these people are. And then we move on, right? Continuing on our immigration and our white supremacist roundup. The Trump administration is restricting the number of refugees it admits annually into the country to 7,500, and they will most likely be white South Africans. How did that work out for them in Arkansas? How are they, by the way? Do we know? Have we heard of from any of the white South Africans?
As they are literally trying to ban birthright citizenship. This is a fact, folks. I mean, this was a white nationalist dream, and Donald Trump has asked the Supreme Court to consider banning birthright citizenship. As they're trying to denaturalize brown citizens, as they have removed temporary protected status, as they have I think the number was, there's at least 170 citizens who have been detained and kidnapped by ICE, because ICE has just picked up anyone who's brown and black, and the Supreme Court allowed them to racially profile in LA. As they kidnapped more than 200 brown men and sent them to die in a foreign prison. The one refugee group that they're willing to accept are white South Africans, who are perfectly fine in South Africa, by the way. And the whole lie that white South Africans are being oppressed is part of the white genocide Nazi conspiracy that has been debunked. What more do you need to see, folks?
And what more do you need to see? Well, this. After bringing white South Africans to the United States as refugees earlier this year, the Trump administration has now granted protection to members of far-right European parties. This plan, which becomes official today, makes the country's refugee program into a tool for white nationalism, which we told you was going to happen and has been happening for the last 10 months.
And can I remind you all, in the 80s, when the world turned on South Africa for its apartheid racist practices, there were two countries that stood by its side. Those two countries were the United States and Israel. And if you're seeing the resistance grow, you're seeing also fascists flock together. You're seeing Israel double down on its occupation, racism, supremacy. You're seeing India double down on Hindu supremacy. You're seeing Viktor Orban and these right-wing parties that hate Muslims and immigrants. And you're seeing now the South African oligarchy in the form of Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, David Sachs, and others try to help their own. And their own are who? The whites. And Stephen Miller's entire plan is to make America white again and undo all of the progress that happened in the 50s and 60s. And specifically, he said that the worst thing that happened in America was the 1965 Immigration Nationality Act that allowed people like me, literally people from Latin America and Asians, my parents, Daniel's parents, to come to the United States of America.
But things aren't entirely awful. Wash.
So as you know, the government is shut down, as the government refuses to fund SNAPs running out tomorrow, as there's food lines at food banks, as the economy is in shambles, -31, Donald Trump said -31, as people are worried about their healthcare premiums going up, as measles is skyrocketing, as all this is happening, if you watch right-wing media, this is what they're pissed off about. They're pissed off about Bad Bunny performing at the Super Bowl,
Right.
and Minneapolis mayoral candidate Omar Fatah, a Muslim, a democratic socialist, speaking in Somali and waving the flag of Somalia at a rally in Minnesota. Huge Somali American population, a huge population of Somali immigrants. He spoke in English also, and then he just decided to, address the crowd and spoke in Somali and waved the flag. And this was all over. I mean, all over right-wing media. They are taking over. Is this the America you want? Meanwhile,
Hold on, I just want to show.
Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum.
May peace be unto you.
Somalia. Hiran State. Mawisle. Early voting was hadda illa November 4. I need your vote.
There was an American flag.
Mhm.
Anyone notice that? He also spoke English. He also talked about civic engagement and voting. So they're perfectly fine with Rhodesian apartheid flags and white South Africans who, by the way, their language is in English. They speak Afrikaner. That's okay. And they're okay with young Republican leaders saying, I love Hitler. That's okay. And they're fine with swastikas. That's okay. But a Somali American Muslim man addressing a largely Somali American crowd, and addressing them in English and Somali and saying, hey, come vote, melted their minds. And I want to say this. Can you go back to the photo of that man? Because it's another story that I think is going to pick up, especially after Mamdani wins. We'll talk about that later. This young man, most likely will become a mayor. This man has been abandoned by the Democratic leadership. They kicked him to the curb. Why? Because of all the Islamophobia and fear-mongering and smearing, somehow connecting him to Hamas because he was against the genocide and apartheid. Complete bullshit. So they kicked him to the curb, but he might be, just like Mamdani, the next mayor. Just saying, follow the story.
Follow the story. And this, again, just so that we can make it absolutely clear, this regime is for immigration so long as it is adding to the white population in the United States. Otherwise, the official Twitter page of Homeland Security used a term that white nationalist groups use, which is remigrate. The word remigrate was popularized by extremists like Martin Sellner as code for deportation and ethnic cleansing. It's now appearing in U.S. policy drafts, and the same language is being used by the government's official social media accounts. This is ideological import in real time. Keep your eyes wide open.
Folks, there's literally no other community that uses the word remigrate other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists. It is literally a synonym for ethnic cleansing. No one else uses that word. No one. And that was what Danielle just showed you, was the official account of the United States Department of Homeland Security, and that tweet is still up from October 14th. October 14th. What more do you need to see?
And then what are they doing in the meantime? So, breaking news. The Justice Department is now investigating whether leaders in the Black Lives Matter movement defrauded donors who contributed tens of millions of dollars during racial justice protests in 2020, as well as they have started investigations into philanthropy groups, as well as investigating George Soros as a person and his organization. All of this is to quell dissent. All of this is to break up Black and brown groups. All of this is to ensure that their white nationalist dreams that they are accelerating because of what we said at the top about Donald Trump's health, about the fact that this man is not well. He had a great MRI apparently this week. Why is he getting an MRI?
Why?
Because I know that you get an MRI when your doctor thinks that something is wrong and they need to actually investigate, right? And so all of these things are happening at the same time, and it's not a coincidence. And on top of which, again, things that Waj and I have been saying forever, the mainstreaming of white nationalism, the mainstreaming of Nazism, the failure of mainstream corporate media to call this out, to question, right, these organizations and groups about the infiltration, about their narrative change. And so Yashar Ali says this. Most recently, Tucker Carlson had on Nick Fuentes. Nick Fuentes, as we've talked about ad nauseum on this program, is a avowed white nationalist. He's also an incel, believes that sex with women is
Gay.
gross and gay and shouldn't happen, among other crazy things. But listen to what happens here. The president of the Heritage Foundation, why do we know the Heritage Foundation? Because they are the architects of Project 2025, what we are all now living inside of, that is 50% complete. Kevin Roberts has announced that the organization is standing by Tucker Carlson in the aftermath of Tucker's interview with neo-Nazi Nick Fuentes. This isn't Kevin bending his knee to Trump. This is something new. In his statement, Kevin condemns what he calls a venomous coalition that is sowing division by attacking Tucker. That venomous coalition includes MAGA Republicans as well as Jewish conservative commentators, activists, and donors. Kevin also frames Nick Fuentes' rhetoric as worthy of debate rather than something to be condemned outright. A shift like this would have been unthinkable for Heritage just 3 years ago, but now is the norm.
Misura on democracy-ish. White nationalism would go mainstream by 2024, 2025. We're not brilliant. We're not, these people who are like Nostradamus. We just pay attention. We look at the evidence of our ears and eyes. And I think the strength that Danielle and I have compared to many of our colleagues in corporate media is they suffer from a failure of imagination due to their wealth and their whiteness, and or their proximity to wealth or whiteness, or their desire to be close to wealth and whiteness in the incestuous big club, the New York DC Acela train, where they just pat each other on the back and engage in civility politics, and you know your role and I know my role, and I'll be Jake Tapper and I'll somehow survive, or if not, I'll audition for Barry Weiss's CBS News, which is what he's doing, by the way. We don't have the luxury of being like that. We call it for what it is, because we and our families and our communities will suffer as a result of these people. So we can't afford civility politics. So we take these people literally and seriously. And we don't say that Donald Trump has a racial trip up or a racial flare up. We use the words racist. We don't say that they have economic anxiety. We say, no, it's cultural anxiety and racism. And as the emancipated poet asked, so they're embracing Gropers, Waj, and Danielle. Not only are they embracing Gropers, the Gropers have won. The Gropers are the present and future of the MAGA movement. What we've been saying was my first article for the Daily Beast when I started writing for them. I think it was 4 years ago. When Marjorie Taylor Greene came on the scene, I said, Marjorie Taylor Greene is the present and future of the Republican Party. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Tucker Carlson, Nick Fuentes, Candace Owens. There you go. The present and future of the Republican Party. Now, to connect the dots, Nick Fuentes, for those who don't know, is the leader of the Gropers. Again, this incel, young neo-Nazi who said Hitler was based, who said Hitler was cool, who was called out by the ADL, who hate, there you go. You want to read that quote?
He's a fan. So Nick Fuentes, this is with Tucker Carlson. It was December 18th. That's Joseph Stalin's birthday. I'm a fan. Tucker Carlson, you're a fan of Stalin? Nick Fuentes, always an admirer. Tucker Carlson, well, that's okay. We'll circle back to that. Spoiler alert, Tucker never circles back.
And the fact that Tucker, so let's just stay with this for 1 minute, because I know not everyone knows. Nick Fuentes was originally an outlier. The Groper movement, right? They took over Pepe the Frog. It's all edgelord online, 4chan, like racist bullshit. Everything's a joke, nihilistic. However, Nick Fuentes is an America First dude, and for him, America First is white Christian nationalist. And he hates Jews, and he hates Israel, not because he loves Palestinians, but because he wants Jews to go to Israel. He literally said it to yesterday on his 7-minute video responding to the Heritage Foundation, essentially backing him. All his Jewish MAGA critics, right, like Mark Levin and Joshua Hammer and Bethany Mandel, who were all complicit, like Usha Vance. We kept warning them, but they hated the pro-Palestinians and they hated the Muslims, and they thought we're the good Jews, so we'll go along. The Laura Loomer, right, Batya and all these others, he told them, we hate you, go back to Israel. Furthermore, he hated Charlie Kirk. Now, why did he hate Charlie Kirk? Charlie Kirk is hard right racist because Charlie Kirk wasn't right-wing enough for Gropers. That's why they hated him. They used to troll him, okay? They wanted to be even more overt and right-wing and eschew the establishment and the money. All right. Who does he also hate? Who has he also trolled? Ben Shapiro. They trolled him, his wife, and his kids when they were at some event. And there was a video of all these Gropers, like literally he was just trying to cross the street. It's the only time in my life I've defended Ben Shapiro. I said, that's disgusting. I just want people to sit with this. That Nick Fuentes, 2.5 years ago, warning sign, warning sign, warning sign. I always try to bring this up. Who did Donald Trump have dinner with? Nick Fuentes and post-anti-Semitic Kanye West. To this day, he has never apologized for having dinner with Nick Fuentes, who also did not apologize for speaking at Nick Fuentes' conference and has aligned herself with him. Marjorie Taylor Greene. Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes hated each other. They used to make fun of each other. But Tucker invited Nick Fuentes just a couple of days ago because Tucker sees where the wind's blowing, and they had a detente. So right there was their detente and their type of like, a type of peace treaty. And the Heritage Foundation, which is the author of Project 2025, which is the foundational conservative right-wing, plank, has now officially embraced Nick Fuentes and Tucker Carlson, which means the Gropers have won.
Also, just a quick reminder that the man who is accused of killing Charlie Kirk, who we don't talk about anymore in mainstream corporate media, was a Groper.
Or used Groper language.
Used Groper language all over the place and dressed as the frog for Halloween, which we showed you weeks ago.
And we still haven't found out anything. Have you noticed Tyler Robinson? Gone from the media. Like have you noticed, Danielle?
Yeah. Same with Bolter, right? Like
Vance Bolter. Yeah.
So, but as a final note, dear friends, this is who these people are. The same people hanging SWAT stickers and texting friends, I love Hitler, are clutching their pearls when people call them Nazis. Maybe I'm old-fashioned, but in the America I grew up in, loving Hitler makes you a Nazi. Thank you, Representative Jim McGovern. This is the snapshot that was from the group text that Politico had the expose on of all of the youth 40 and below Republican groups and their chat, which has resulted in a couple of them resigning their positions, making apologies. When asked about this group text of hatred and misogyny and rape jokes, JD Vance said, I don't pay attention to what kids do, because evidently when you are white and you are male, adolescence goes well into your 40s. And if you're Donald Trump, it goes well into your 70s, because we're still waiting for him to turn presidential. Final words to you, Waj.
Trick or treat. Nazis are at the door. We told you. What are you going to do about it, America? What are you going to do about it, white America? Let me just be blunt. You know, I was talking to Eddie Glaude. We were at this event last week. And he said it from the stage, but, you know, we were just talking about this inability of America to confront its ghouls and demons and horrors, and not just confront it and name it. You coddle it, and you say, as Danielle said, "Oh, just a young kid. It's an angel. It's innocent. It's suffering from economic anxiety." And I'm like, "Nah, I think that's a Nazi." And like, "Oh no, it's just a young man who's troubled." And the reason why we refuse to talk about it and confront it is then many white people, it's not just white people, but historically and even now, according to the majority, white people will have to confront their own loved ones and family members. My Uncle Chet might just be a racist. My dad, who goes to work and goes to the church and is a nice dad and drives the pickup truck, might just be a racist. My mom, who's loving and cooks really tasty apple pies, might just be a racist. My sister, who's a great sister, might just be a racist. And you all will have to confront this racism problem. The number one domestic terror threat in America continues to be white supremacist terrorism, right-wing terrorism, in terms of violence and domestic plots. The number one mass shooter in America is a white man. The people being radicalized are young white men. And the Republican Party has gone all in now with Gropers, neo-Nazis, and white nationalists.
What could possibly go wrong?
Trick or treat.
Trick or treat. The hoods are off, dear friends. That is it for us on this edition of Democracy-ish. I hope that for those that are celebrating Halloween, find some joy, make people smile, go take your kids trick-or-treating. Waj, don't do any more lives today, but I'm sure that you will.
I have like 4 left. I'm an idiot. I just said yes
So
to
are you
everyone.
taking the kids trick-or-treating at midnight? Like,
No,
when
so
are you going?
so I'm so stupid. I'm going from 12 to 5 just to take my kids trick or treat. So I got Jared, who's your co-host. Jared Yates Sexton's on in 5 minutes. I have Dean Obey the Law at 2:30. I have the actor turned writer Ben McKenzie talking about the crypto grift at 3. And then we're talking about I have an expert on global refugees talking about how the Trump administration is screwing people of color and bringing in white South Africans at 4. But then I'm done.
But then he's done, and he's going to go out with his kids. Folks, this is independent media. As always, we want to thank all of the super stickers and super thanks. Susan, as always, our fantastic moderator, coming in big. Barb, as always. Daria, as always. Game Shark, Janine, T-Gal, Claire, Spacey, Jimmy, Real Talk, E. Schwartz. Thank you all. Every single dollar that you're able to spare goes to allowing us to create the kind of content with integrity and passion that you deserve. Waj is on Substack at The Left Hook. We never put any of our content behind a paywall, but if you have a few bucks, consider becoming a paid subscriber on Substack. I am at The Damn Digest. Similarly, never behind a paywall. But if you have a few bucks, consider becoming a paid subscriber. I've also started memberships on my channel, which are live now at 2 tiers for those who have the ability and want to support monthly. We will be back.
Wait, how about you? Are you doing anything today, or are you chilling?
No, I am done. I am finished. My girlfriend is saying it's a wrap. We are going out for joy for the rest of the day because unlike you, I take breaks so that I don't have a breakdown. And Pierre, just dear friends, is a hot dog today. He has a hot dog costume and it's adorable.
Pierre's the dog.
Pierre's the dog that people
Wait,
see.
what's your costume, Danielle?
Oh, I'm a dragon. I have
she
a dragon
was actually
onesie.
in a dragon costume, and then she's like, you might be disrespectful
because we're talking about white supremacists.
I thought it'd be perfect. You're a dragon breathing fire against the white nationalists, but I tried, folks.
All right, we will be back on Monday, 12 p.m. Eastern. You all have a safe, happy, fun, joyful Halloween. If you celebrate, take a break, have a good time, and remember, do not be a fascist. We will see you back Monday. Go watch Waj's 75 shows and then go trick-or-treating. Bye, friends.